Okay, students. So today we'll start chapter number 2, that is business structure. So let's discuss few terms which are there at the start of this chapter. So at first we'll talk about classification of business activity. So we classify business activity in three ways: primary, secondary, and tertiary, and you all know about it because you have done it in O levels. Even in geography, it is there, right? So let me ask you so that you will be able to revise these concepts as well. Farhan, can you tell me what is a primary business activity or primary sector activity? Farhan.
Sir, extraction of raw materials.
Okay, all right, good. Extraction of raw material. Bilal Jamil, do you want to add on it or it's fine? Do you want to add something in it?
Sir, extraction and production of raw materials.
Oh, all right. Okay. So, okay, you are actually using the right word. That is extraction. Extraction and use of natural resources which are already there in the soil, or it is they are present there on what we call land. Okay, that's right. So extraction is a suitable word. um, Hussein, can you give me an example of a primary business activity? Hussein, are you there? So Hussein, you are not listening, I guess, or you, I don't know whether you have a problem with your mic or not. Okay, Hira, please give me an example.
So farming, mining, fishing.
Yeah, great. All right. So in all these activities, natural resources are being used or extracted. Right. So that's right. So it's about farming, mining, forestry, fishing. So all are part of primary activity. So then comes secondary sector. So what is the technical term which must be part of that while defining it? Lare Furkan.
Manufacturing of goods and resources.
Very good. So the similarly when we use extraction in while defining primary sector activity, in the same way we have to use manufacturing while defining secondary sector activity. So that's right. So manufacturing means when you use or convert raw material into some finished products, and raw material comes from primary sector. You know that. So it means items which are produced or extracted in the primary sector, they are used in the secondary sector in the manufacturing process, okay, to make a product or to convert it into some finished product. Okay, and then comes tertiary sector. You know about it as well. So Faizan Hassan Bhatt.
Where they provide services.
Very good, yes. So again a right word for it, that is provision of service. So in tertiary sector nothing is produced, you know that, other than services. So services are produced and provided, and that is the feature of a service, that it is produced and provided at the same time. You cannot store services. So we say provision of services. That's right. That is part of tertiary sector. Now, if I talk about the examples which can be part of secondary sector, so let's discuss Zaim Imtiaz. Can you tell me? Can you give me an example of a secondary sector activity?
Sir, jewelry making.
Jewelry making, that's fine. Okay, all right. That's absolutely fine. Okay, Rafe Mushtaq, any other example of secondary sector activity? Rafe, are you there?
Sir, I was late to the class. Can you repeat what secondary activities like?
I think
Can you
you
repeat?
all have done O levels. So I have not explained it actually, because in O levels you have already done these three terms: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Even in geography you study that as well. So do you have any idea about what is secondary sector activity, Rafe? Rafe, please speak up.
No, sir.
Okay, all right, fine. Okay, it's okay. Yes, Faria. Faria Khan,
Yes, sir.
example of a secondary sector activity.
Sir, shoe manufacturing factory.
Shoe manufacturing factory. It can be a house construction business. It can be a leather making factory. So it can be anything. You know about it. Um, so when we talk about tertiary sector, so it's about provision of services. So it includes what, Bilal Jamil? Example?
Sir, real estate activities.
Okay, very good, because the property dealer provides you the service. Okay, the property dealer actually tells you that which plot is available for sale, or which is the right or best location for you to buy a plot to build a house. That's right. Yes, it is a service. Very good. Hussein, I am asking you again. Hussein Adnan, please give me another example of a tertiary sector activity. Hussein, then I'll remove you from the class. It means you are
Sir,
absent.
car repairs.
Car repair. Okay, very good. That's right. Again, repairing of cars is a service. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Razeen Ishfaq, give me an example of a tertiary sector activity.
Insurance, banking, transportation.
Very good. So you are very clear. So you actually came up with three examples. So you are absolutely clear about tertiary sector activities. That's great. Insurance, transportation, even communication, advertisement. If you have a warehouse business and you store goods, again that is part of tertiary sector business. If you run a cinema house, you have a hotel. Again, all are parts of tertiary sector activities. Now, my question is, if I gave you an example of a hotel. So hotel is hotel comes under tertiary sector. So is there any part of hotel is in secondary sector as well? Anyone, any volunteer? Is there any part of a hotel business is in secondary sector as well? If it is so, please mention.
They're providing food to the people staying in the hotel.
All right. Okay, listen. Now, providing food is a service. It's not manufacturing at all. Anyone else?
Sir, cooking.
Very good. Absolutely right. Because you actually get raw material of it. Now, how do you get it? You get chicken. Okay. And you know that it is done in the primary sector. Livestock, you know that there is a term used for it. So livestock is an activity which is there in the primary sector. So you get raw material from there. Chicken is produced over there, and then you use it to convert it into food. So that means processing is done. So yes, this is part of secondary sector activity. Otherwise, if customers stay over there, or there is a dining area where customers can wait for their order to be served, this is all part of tertiary sector activity, apart from that kitchen area. Okay, that's great. Now let's see that now primary sector, you know that. So livestock is there, forestry is there, farming is there, even fishing is there. So all includes either extraction or uh, use of natural resources to get raw material out of it, which can be used in the secondary sector. Then we have manufacturing, you know that for secondary sector. And finally we have tourism is another industry which comes under tertiary sector activity. All right, let's move on now. Changes in the business activity. So the importance of a business activity varies from country to country. Like which business activity will be more important in one country and why not in the other? Let's discuss that first. For underdeveloped countries such as Zimbabwe, Somalia, or other African countries, you know, primary sector activity is more important. Now my question is, why it is so? Lareb Furkan, I want you to answer.
Because of lack of skills and resources.
Okay, very good. Lack of skills, it means that the people, they do not have the capability or the skills to operate machinery or to work in the secondary sector. That's your point, right? Now, when you say resources, what does it mean? What resources you're talking about?
Capital, for example.
Okay, capital. Okay, why? Because in primary sector, basically, it is labor intensive activity. So in developing countries, there is surplus population available and it is cheap as well, but they do not have capital. Now in business, capital means money, that is finance, as well as machinery. So because they cannot afford both of them, that is why they heavily rely on primary sector. So they hire people which are cheap and they use them for farming or fishing or for some other purpose. So that is why developing countries, they rely on primary sector. Okay, now when I say that importance of primary sector is greater in underdeveloped countries, okay, what does it mean? Importance in what terms? Hira, can you answer that?
Sir, that the country is dependent on this, the income is generated from this sector only.
Okay, or income is generated from that sector only. Okay, now do remember that when we say that a certain sector, let's say primary in that case, is important for a country, it means we are actually talking about in terms of output and employment. So obviously output is related with generation of income as well, that's right. But to be very precise, we say in terms of output and what? Employment. That majority of the people are employed in primary sector and majority or a major chunk of the GDP of the country comes from primary sector. Majority of the output which is produced in the country, that is part of primary sector. So then we say that the primary sector is important for an economy. Okay, all right, and we discussed that why primary sector is important in underdeveloped countries. Anyone, any problem? Because maybe you have to give a justification that why underdeveloped countries heavily rely on primary sector. So I told you, but if still there is a question, I can answer it. Okay, no question. Let's move on. Now, developing countries which are on the path of development, but they have not yet developed, right? So Malaysia, China. China is one of the fastest growing economy, but still there is a margin to grow. If I talk about USA, USA cannot grow very fast. Why? Because USA is already a developed country. So the margin of growing is not that much unless and until they increase the amount of resources they have. Now it's not that possible. Why? Because they have a limited land and limited population as well. So generally developing countries, they have a margin to grow. That is why they are able to grow as well, because there are lots of resources, either it is people, land, capital, which are idle or which are available, but they were not being used earlier. Now they can use it to good effect to have an economic growth in the country or to increase the level of output in the country. So developing countries rely heavily on secondary sector. So it means that their main output comes from secondary sector. Similarly, majority of the people are employed in secondary sector. Why? Because now they have enough capital to run their secondary sector activities in a better way, and they now have developed technologies as well, and in the meantime, so that is why they can um, run their secondary sector business activities successfully, like Malaysia and China. Then we have developed countries. They are dependent on tertiary sector activities. For example, UK, USA, Japan, Italy, France. So there are many countries, you know that already. So why they are now heavily dependent on tertiary sector? Like it means that in terms of output, the major income is generated from tertiary sector. Major product comes from the tertiary sector. Product here means services, obviously. So when I use the word product, it means both goods and services, right? And majority of the people, they like to be employed there in the tertiary sector, or they are employed in the tertiary sector. Like USA is almost 70% output, or the people they belong to tertiary sector. Now, what is the reason behind it? For that, I want Zain, can you answer that? Why developed countries heavily rely on tertiary sector?
So due to the competition in the rest of the world.
So why not primary? Why don't they focus on primary and secondary now? Why do they focus on tertiary sector only? That is my question. No idea, Zain?
No
So no
idea.
problem, no problem. But if you do not know, just let me know that I do not know. It's okay, it's fine. But you have to contribute and you have to answer quickly. Okay. Razeen Ishfaq. Same question.
So they are better skilled and want to work in a better environment than compared to the primary and secondary sector. They would like a better pay structure.
Okay, oh, very good. Razeen, very good. That's right. Uh, you know that in tertiary sector, all highly paid professions are there in tertiary sector. Think about engineers, bankers, doctors. So they all are, think about UK, USA, they are very highly paid, I'm telling you. Okay, so that is one thing. Secondly, because people are now educated, they get education even at a higher level as well. So that is why they like to use those skills rather than be involved in physical effort. They want mental effort. They want to use their brain, whatever education they have got, they want to use that. So it means that minimum of physical effort will be there and more of mental effort will be there, because they have got higher level education, but they will get higher salaries. Okay, and they will enjoy. Yes, and the environment in a tertiary sector is also very comfortable. Think about a bank, think about a doctor in a clinic, right? Similarly, an engineer, although engineer has to visit the site as well, but generally engineer has his own office as well. Okay, so now we understand, because tertiary sector activities are highly paid, people are now educated, so they think that if we have got education, so we deserve that higher level position where we can get higher salaries. So, and uh, one more benefit in joining tertiary sector is that you can charge any amount. Think about a teacher. Teacher can ask for any amount because there is no cost involved. Okay. Similarly, doctor can charge a fee. The popular the doctor is, the higher will be the fee of the doctor, right? Same is the case with a singer, an actor. Think about it. They can charge any amount, right? Depending on how famous they are and how much the businesses they want to have them, right? So that is why there is no limit at all. Sky is the limit actually in that case. So that is why people would like to join that sector, and a huge amount of profits can be earned in that way. Alright, it does not mean that they do not focus on primary and secondary, but yes, they produce it maybe for to a certain amount they do produce it, but rest of the item they get it from developing countries. For example, raw material, they do not produce it. Why? Because they know that they can get it cheaper from developing countries, there is surplus population there and labor is cheap over there. So why not to get it from the developing countries rather than producing it um, themselves, because labor is very expensive in developed countries. So that is another reason why they do not focus on their primary sector activity. But it does not mean that they do not have a primary sector at all. That is wrong to say. They do have, but not to that extent when we compare it with underdeveloped countries. Okay, so I hope that everybody is clear, because these are very simple concepts and almost you have studied that somehow or the other in your O levels, either in economics, business or geography. All right, now another term which is there, rather there are two terms, industrialization and deindustrialization. So I want you to explain me. Lareb Furqan, do you know what is industrialization?
Focusing on the secondary sector.
Absolutely right. It means now the importance of secondary sector has gone up. Now more output is being produced in the secondary sector, more people are employed in the secondary sector. So secondary sector is getting more importance. So we call it, so growth of industry is there. So this is industrialization, and this happens, Lareb, where? Underdeveloped, developing or developed countries?
Developing.
Developing countries, very good, that's right, because industry is part of secondary sector where manufacturing is done, and that is more important in developing countries. Okay, then we have deindustrialization as well. Bilal Jamil, can you tell me what is deindustrialization?
Sir, I have no idea about it.
No idea. Okay. Rafe Mushtaq, any idea about
No, sir.
deindustrialization? No. Okay, no problem at all. Faria, can you answer that?
Yes, sir. Deindustrialization means when the secondary sector loses its importance, and then they are moving towards the tertiary sector.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Faria. You are right. Your answer is correct. Deindustrialization means that now the importance of secondary sector has gone down. It means now more resources are being allocated in the tertiary sector. So when I say resources, obviously it means land, labor, capital and enterprise. So now they are being used in the tertiary sector. Sorry?
So can you repeat industrialization? Sorry, Skab.
Okay, all right, I'll do it. Let me explain deindustrialization first. So it means that it happens, so when resources are more resources are allocated to tertiary sector, and it happens in developed countries. So deindustrialization happens in developed countries. So it does not mean that now secondary industry will collapse. No, not at all. But the importance will go down. So industry may work in the same way, but there will not be the growth in the same way as it was happening, because now people are shifting their resources towards tertiary sector. People are willing to work in the tertiary sector rather than the secondary sector. This is what we call deindustrialization, whereas industrialization is exactly opposite of deindustrialization, which means growth of secondary sector increases, and now more resources are used in secondary sector, more of land, more of labor, more of capital, and more owners would like to start their business in the secondary sector, and that happens in developing countries where secondary sector is more in importance. So have I answered your question? Somebody, Rafe, you asked the question. You asked me to define industrialization, na?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, all right. All right, let's move on. Effect of industrialization. Now, after knowing what is industrialization, it will be easier for us to see the effects of industrialization. And when we say effects, obviously it means both positive and negative impact on the economy, right? Let's see them one by one. First is GDP. So it is an advantage, a positive impact, that industry actually secondary sector industry contributes heavily in the GDP of the country. And you know that people do not require only services, they require goods as well to satisfy their needs and wants. If secondary sector is not there, who will build houses for people? Who will manufacture cars and provide it to the people? Think about clothes, cell phone, shoes. So there are many items which people need on daily basis. So they it means that they will heavily contribute towards the GDP in terms of goods produced in the country, because services also contribute towards the GDP. GDP, I guess you understand. I hope. Farhan, can you define what is GDP?
It's output of a country.
Okay, all right. Um, Hussain Adnan, can you define the term GDP? Hussain, any idea? Hussain Adnan.
But actually, not right now.
Okay, fine. So GDP is, okay, let me, Razeen, please answer it. Razeen Ishfaq.
The total amount of goods and services produced over a period of time.
All right, so total amount. Now, generally we say the total amount or the market value of all the goods and services which are produced in a country within the geographical boundaries of the country. Now, why I'm saying market value? Because when we count the number of items which are produced in a country in a year, we multiply it with its market value. And do you know what is the market value, Hira Javed?
The amount at which it is sold.
Very good. Yes, that's right. The price at which the items or the goods can be sold in the market. So GDP is basically the national income of the country, because whatever is produced, when we see its market value, so it means at which they will be sold. So that much amount of revenue will be raised in the country in the year. So that is why we call it national income of the country as well. So secondary sector industry contributes heavily towards the GDP of the country. Okay, and this actually enables the country to export goods as well. Foreign exchange can be earned by the country as well. Similarly, more goods will be available to the people to satisfy their needs and wants. It will lift the living standard of the people, and more foreign exchange will be earned. I'll get back to it, but not right now, because there is another point which is linked to that. Exports, that is a point which is linked to foreign exchange. So when a country is able to produce higher GDP and the goods are more than the certain goods which are more than the wants or needs of the people, so now the country is able to sell it to other countries, and we call it exports. So when countries export, they get foreign exchange. Now my question is, why exports are important for a country? There are many reasons, but I want maybe at least 2-3 reasons for that. So let me ask Faizan Hassan. Faizan, can you tell me why exports? Because right now we are discussing the positive impact of industrialization, obviously, on the economy and the people, right? So what is the benefit of having exports?
Sir, it will bring foreign currency due to which the country can import products from other countries using the foreign currency.
Faizan, very good. I was not expecting that. Okay, were you a business student in O levels?
No, sir.
Okay, then a great answer from your side. I was not expecting that. You actually surprised me, and that was a pleasant surprise. Thank you very much. So yes, why exports are important? Because when we sell it to other countries, we get foreign currency, and foreign currency is extremely important, because no country can claim that they can produce everything which is needed by the people of the country. They have to buy from other countries as well, because resources do not support the production of certain items. You know that. For example, oil. We cannot produce oil because our land is not fertile for extracting of oil. but it's there in Middle East. So we have to buy it from there, right? So when we do exports, so we get foreign currency, and then later on we can pay to other countries in the same foreign currency. So what is the benefit? Benefit is that we do not need to buy that. For example, think about Saudi Arabia. We buy oil from Saudi Arabia, right? And do you know that in which currency we pay to Saudi Arabia? Bilal, do you know that? Bilal Jamil.
Sir, Saudi Riyals.
Actually, yes, Saudi Arabia has their own currency, that is Saudi Riyal, but actually we pay them in dollars. Why? Because they feel that the dollar is a strong currency and it is less likely to go down as far as its external value is concerned. That is what we call exchange rate depreciation. Although some of you might not be familiar with that term, so that is why I did not want to use that. Actually, they use dollar because they feel that dollar is a stable currency. It won't go down in value. So when it means we have to pay in dollars. Now think about that if we are exporting something to USA, so in return what do we get? We get dollars. How do we get dollars? Because the Americans, they first convert dollars in rupees. So it means that they buy rupees from us and they pay dollars, right? And then they pay to us in rupees. So in that way we get dollars. Now when we have a lot of reserves of dollars, so now when we need to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, we do not need to buy dollars now. Why? Because we already have lots of reserves of dollars because of our higher exports. So we'll simply pay dollars to Saudi Arabia. So pay it to Saudi Arabia to buy oil. So it will be easier. Now imagine if there are no foreign currency reserves of dollars available and now we have to buy oil, and you know that it's a necessity. So at that time we have to buy dollars first. And remember, whenever you buy a currency, do remember, whenever you buy a currency, it means you are demanding that currency and the value of that currency will start going up. Do remember. So it means if we keep on buying dollars to pay Saudi Arabia for the oil we import, so the value of dollars in terms of rupees will start moving upwards, as it happened. Now it is I think around about 170 rupees, $1. Huh? So that is one of the reason, because we did not have enough foreign reserve there. That is why the dollar went up so quickly. That was the reason there in Pakistan. So if we had dollars, it would not be the situation there. Now, so now you understand that why exports are important. Secondly, you know that when you export goods to other countries, you get revenue as well. Now, apart from foreign currency, you get revenue, and revenue is one of the income of the country as well. So this is again a benefit to the country and the people as well who are involved in such business. They get profit out of it as well, and out of that profit, taxes are paid to the government, and tax is one of the revenue of the government, and government utilizes that tax revenue for the betterment of the country. For example, building of roads, schools, healthcare services, provision of electricity, building of dams. So they can use it there as well. So this is how you can link it with your country or the people who are living in the country. Employment there, yes, another big factor there, but I want somebody to develop this point, because the main thing in A levels while answering a question is how good you are in developing points. You know points, it's fine, but there are very less marks for knowledge. So you have to develop points well to get more marks. Now, Zaim, can you tell me how employment is linked, how secondary sector provides employment, and what is the benefit to the country? Zaim, are you there? Zaim Imtiaz. So you are not there. Hira Javed, please.
Sir, due to industrialization, the manufacturing businesses will expand, so they will demand more workers. because they have to now produce more output. So it will generate employment opportunities in the country. If
All
there is
right.
more employment opportunities, the workers will have higher incomes, and eventually the government will be able to increase their taxes, and it will be a revenue for them which they can reinvest for the betterment of the people.
Okay, that's right. Even if government does not increase taxes, still a fair amount of tax revenue will be earned by the government because now there are more people who are employed. Earlier they were unemployed and government was actually paying them in the form of unemployment allowance. Now the same amount will not be paid because now more people are employed. So that amount can be used for the development of the country as I discussed above. So it's about the importance of employment. Tax revenue will be generated, standard of living of the people will increase because this is the responsibility of the government to lift the standard of living so that people can meet their daily needs and wants easily. Similarly, social crimes won't be there because now people are employed, so you won't find cases of theft, robbery, or dacoity because they are getting their income. So sometimes people they have no way out other than involved in crime to support their family. So this happens. Even in Africa, you know that there are countries, Kenya, Nairobi, so where there is extreme crime there, and even police does not go over there and they just tell people do not move around there because we are not responsible because the government is not able to provide them the money or the goods which they require to support their family or to meet their basic necessities. So that is why there are more cases of social evils over there in underdeveloped countries such as Africa. Okay, then next tax revenue. So it is quite linked with it. So either you can develop the same point and use both employment and tax revenue, or you can write separate points. I told you that writing too many points is not recommended. It is better that you can mix up 2 points, and if you think that there is a link between them, and then you develop it well. If you develop them extensively, you will get more marks because there are more marks for analysis rather than the knowledge. So if you write too many points without developing them, you won't get more marks. Added value. So we discussed that in the first chapter as well. So in greater value is added in secondary sector. Do you know how? Anybody you can explain that? Greater value is added in the secondary sector. Faria? Faria Khan?
Sir, because in industrialization, the more focus is on the secondary sector. So maybe because of the business becomes more capital intensive, which adds value to the product.
Okay, all right, fine. But I told you that added value can be increased when you increase the gap between the selling price and the raw material. So it means now what do? They actually get raw material from the primary sector and then they add value to it by branding it, by making it, by giving them an attractive shape to it, by adding the quality in it or the way they design the product. So there are many ways in which they can add value to it because adding value here means that now greater satisfaction from people's side when they consume it. So think about Apple iPhone. So why it is so expensive now? Because greater value has been added. So those people who think that there is greater satisfaction, they'll buy. A person like me won't buy that. Why? Because I think that maybe there is not much greater satisfaction in it in that case. So added value, a greater value is added in secondary sector because they actually take an item which can't be used by people because it is in raw form. Think about iron ore, right? And then they convert it into steel and then car, right? And then they can use it. So nobody think about what is the actual cost of Apple iPhone or car branded Toyota or Honda. or any other famous brand, Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini. So nobody talks about it. What is the cost? They always see the added value, right? And that is what we call greater customer satisfaction, and they buy it. So this is done basically in industrialization or in the secondary sector of activity. Then we have reduced crime rate. I have already covered that, so I'm not going to, because again it is linked with employment, right? So you can link it with employment. Now the negative impacts: overcrowded cities. Now why overcrowded cities will be experienced by the country? Especially if I talk about Lahore. So on Eid days we find the roads empty, not much traffic there on the road, right? On Eid days. Apart from that, we see traffic jam everywhere. You live in Lahore, so you know that. Do you know why it is so? Anybody?
The population growth.
Population growth. Okay, that's fine. But why in Lahore? Why not in other parts like Sadkabad or Miawali? Why not there?
So, rural urban migration.
Yes, very good, Hira. Rural urban migration. People would like to go to those cities which are developed because there are ample employment opportunities. Secondly, the living standard enjoyed by those people living in those developed cities is very high compared to the people who are living in smaller towns or villages. So that's right. So people who do not belong to Lahore, they also come to Lahore, okay, and they start living over there to find a job or to enjoy all the facilities which are there in the city of Lahore. So this actually makes the city overcrowded, and overcrowded cities actually form many problems. One is, you know, that traffic issue. What else? Anybody? One is traffic, I discussed that. What other issues can be related with overcrowded cities? Faizan? Faizan Hassan, any idea?
Yes, sir. I can repeat the question.
My question is, what do you find in overcrowded cities?
So there will be more pollution due to more
Very
vehicles.
good. Very good. One is more traffic will be there on the road. People find it difficult or they get delayed while reaching their destiny. That's right. And pollution, because there will be more factories there. Okay, so there will be land pollution, water pollution, air pollution there. That's fine. That's right. Very good. Okay, then cost of importing raw material. So because if secondary sector grows, then at times you might see certain industries which heavily depend on imported raw material. So in that case, imports will increase, and if the raw material is expensive, then more money will go out. Okay, so and the foreign currency reserves will go down. Yes, it will happen at the start, but if they are able to use that raw material to form high quality products and later they can export it to other countries, then it's fine. But if they are getting raw material from other countries and they are producing products for their own people, then there is a problem. And problem is more money will leave the country, and our foreign currency reserves, as I told you earlier, they will squeeze down. And later on, or the time will come when there will be no foreign currency available, and then we have to either buy foreign currency or we have to take help from international financial institutions like IMF, that is International Monetary Fund, ADB, Asian Development Bank, or World Bank, right? And you know that Pakistan is experiencing the same sort of situation. So then we have effects of multinationals. Now that is the last point, and then I'll stop there. So effects of multinationals, we have to talk about in terms of the bad effects, because obviously multinationals, the positive impact are there. Let me explain that, and then I'll ask you the negative effects. Positive is that obviously they provide employment, and we can link it with the point which is above there. They contribute towards GDP as well. Again, it's their point there, so you can link up the point of multinational with GDP as well. Then multinationals, they offer high quality goods to the people. That is a point which you can add, because they have lots of capital with them, and they can spend it on research and development. They can use latest technology, so they come up with high quality products, and people can buy those products and can increase their living standard in that case. Otherwise, it would not have been possible if multinationals would not have been there in the country. Okay, and that is just because of growth in secondary sector, because multinationals feel that in this country secondary sector is growing, so it means that there are more favorable conditions in that country compared to other countries, so they actually allocate their resources over there as well in that country. So local people, they get the advantage by having high quality products. Now how it can be a disadvantage as well. So Lareb, can you explain me multinationals?
The environment could be harmed, the employees could be exploited.
How? Okay, all right. Environment could be harmed, it's fine. It can be related with pollution, obviously. That's right, because their size is so immense that obviously the amount of pollution they make, it is so large that they can affect millions of people around there. That's right. Okay, so you said the second is, you said they can exploit people, workers. How?
They would pay lower wages because they
That's
know
right.
that
There is surplus population. That's right, and that is why they actually came to that country, because they know that labor is cheap over there, so they exploit people over there, and they know that laws are not stricter over there compared to their country, so they do it. Yeah, that is a negative impact. And what else? Razeen, can you add to it any other negative effect you think of multinationals?
It is difficult for local firms to compete with them as they have a global brand image.
Very good. One, they have a global brand image, and they might have a better quality as well, and they might have a lower cost as well, because they might have a cost advantage because they use latest machinery, or they have efficient methods of production, they have skilled workforce, whatever, which helps them to reduce their cost. So again, local firms are not able to compete. That's right, and it means it will reduce the level of employment which is there. So it means industrialization can increase employment, and it can decrease the employment as well. Okay, any question regarding the effect of industrialization on the economy? Just let me know. No issues? All right, so that's all for today. I'll see you in the next class. Please do the assignment and send it to me. Thank you.